All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's Marketcast call. As always, if you can hear me all right, please let me know. I don't want to get too deep into this and find out nobody can hear a word I'm saying. And good morning to all of you as well. Got ourselves a big week, to say the least. Obviously, election tomorrow. FOMC knocking on our door. Hey, good morning. Is it? I'm not sure if it's Jesus. I'm gonna assume it's Jesus. But good morning, Paul, Colin, Ryan, everybody. But yeah, it should be a fun little week. Again, we'll give everybody a minute or two here and make sure we're all on board. If I remember correctly, let me double check, but I'm pretty sure. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. Ooh, you know what? Forgot about the FOMC rate decisions on Thursday. Forgot about that. Oh, ho, ho. Uh, you can't see. You don't see my screen. Does everybody else see it? I think everybody was seeing it pretty. Was confirmed it was working there. Uh, I do not know why it wouldn't be working on your end. I apologize. Exactly, Paul. Just add a little spice to the week. I guess they figured we need a break after Tuesday, so they moved it to Thursday. Well, yeah, I mean, I'd love to help you, Jesus. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to see it. Everybody else is seeing it fine. It's working on my end fine. Maybe try the good old unplug it, plug it back in. You know, log off and back on. I'm looking around here on my end. I don't know what would be because if you're logged in, you can hear me and you can see the chat box. It should be right there, and everyone's confirming that they do see it. So I apologize. I don't know how to give you the guidance there. be quite honest with you, I haven't been on that end of the StreamYard platform. Um, well, I don't think I ever have been. I've only been on this side. I don't know if anybody out there has any tips or any reason why he would might possibly not be able to see. I got to get rolling here on the call, but again, I do apologize. All right, so let's kind of get into it here. Market wise, we've obviously been concerned about the market here for most of the month. We've been talking about a rising wedge type formation here, and encourage everybody to keep in mind. I always like how and don't get me wrong, like the perma bears are just as bad, but perma bulls are obnoxious too. Like I love the way they act as if somehow there's some reason why this is not valid because hey, this is just a wonderful, just amazing bull market. You know, well, yeah. So call me Cocoa Puffs here, but I'm pretty sure we have pullbacks and corrections within bull markets. And what you can see along the way, I think this is a great example. If you look at all these little dotted lines, these are all the different wedge formations and even rising channels that at least I've identified. There may be some others in there or whatnot, but you'll notice the S&P is pretty darn good about, as a matter of fact, it's batting 1,000, when it comes to these things. So we definitely want to take them seriously, right? Here's a channel when we broke out of it that was kind of confirming the bear market. We've got this rising wedge, this trend line break, this rising wedge, this channel, right? This channel. And notice how every time something breaks, the market does exactly what we would expect every time, at least in this little 2 year stretch. Okay. Right. What are we, 3 years? 2 year stretch here. Every rising wedge confirmed, and we got a sell off of some magnitude. Now, we didn't always necessarily get what I would have thought. I might have thought this would have been a bigger sell off than this, right? Um, I thought odds seemed high that we were going down to at least test these lows. So the magnitude of the drop certainly, quote, can be anybody's guess. But I don't know why someone would stare in the face of this and say that this rising wedge is not something you should at least, you know, be somewhat aware of here. Okay. And when you look back at the reliability of these formations, I think it'd be kind of ignorant to, disregard it altogether. Right. Are levels made to be broken? Are there such things as fake outs? You betcha, right? So we could be running to the moon, and last week could mean nothing. However, I'm going to go with the hot hand, which is that these tend to matter. All right. And as you can see, breaking right out of the bottom of this thing last week. Okay. In addition to that, remember, every week we've been talking about this 57.65 area, this level right around here. That was resistance when we were under it, became support, not only right after we broke through, but then again here, and then we broke it as well. So not only breaking out of this wedge formation, we're breaking a level, right? Taking out a previous swing low. All right. These are all things consistent with a security that seems to be saying I plan on moving lower. Guaranteed? Of course not. Okay, now what would we be targeting on the downside? Well, the first thing I would say is right back here, right? This was our kind of our little breakout level. Tested it 2 days later, came back, tested it again. So it seemed like we'd be coming here. But if this wedge has anything to say about it, okay, that wedge seems to imply, especially if we look at wedge formations or even channel breaks, over the past couple of years, uh, these things tend to, lead to a bigger fall than just a day, right? Tends to lead to a little bit more than that. Now, I will absolutely concede the fact that hey, some crazy stuff coming this week. Got a lot going on. Who knows? But isn't that always the case? Is there ever a time that we know, right? So all we can do is kind of trade what we see and trade, in line with what the market's telling us at that time. If the market wants to fake us out, right, which it does quite often, cool, right? We'll get back on the right side of it. But I think it's pretty clear what the market seems to be telling us right now, which is it plans on moving lower to some extent. Right now, the part that makes that a little bit muddy or muddies the waters a little bit is typically November, December are pretty nice months, specifically in an election year, tend to be pretty good, right? So we'll kind of see how it goes. Who knows? Maybe we get a nasty first week or two in November, and then it's to the moon, Alice, right, straight up into the new year. But it's pretty darn clear what we see happening here, right? The breakdown, we rallied back up and sold right into it, which was our expectation on Friday. Unfortunately, for our trade services, we didn't sell off enough. We actually kind of held on to some green, um, but we did get the forecast correct. Look around a little bit. Nothing about that looks too terribly bullish, right? I don't think the Russell looks as bad, but same idea, right? The Dow, everybody's just kind of pointing towards down. So I'd be thinking lower, right? Those of you that are in my mentoring program, that was kind of what we posted in the newsletter. We expect to start the week lower. Where it takes us, look, I would definitely say somewhat of an all bets are off where we're at. So we're down a little bit here. I would definitely go with the all bets are off idea when you have the election tomorrow. FOMC on the rate decision on Thursday. So a lot happening, right? A lot could be going on. Tim, I don't know what that little I means. You posted that I a couple times, but so yes, that's what I'd be going into the week. One, expectations are to start the week off lower. If we look at the pattern in question and what has happened, pretty much any other time we highlighted one of these patterns over the last 2 years, tends to lead to more than just a 1 day sell off. It tends to lead to a lot more. So that's what we're going to go with. We'll obviously, great thing about keeping somewhat of a non-perma bear, non-perma bull um, view of things is that, hey, if the S&P wants to turn around and retake that 57.65, cool. We'll go back in. Say looks like we're going back up. If we can get back up here, right? It's 58. Call it 58.75 area right there. Take that out. Well, then I think that's kind of all she wrote, right? Probably running to 6K at that point. I think most are expecting a run to the 6K area this year, but seasonality is not a guarantee, But I do think it's worth knowing um, that tends to be bullish this time of year. So, but anyway, all right. So that's that. Any market questions? Pretty straightforward stuff. Stock wise, um, let's see, what are we looking at the end of last week? Um, Tesla failing to hold 250 kind of leads me to believe that it might be going lower. Notice how that 270 that we've been talking about for months, right? Gave it a shot, but then back down it went. Um, so not a big surprise. That 270 kind of got to go back. I guess I could just put it up here, but follow right through, right there. I can get this thing to go up here, right around this. Oh well, okay, fine, there. Right. So we talked about here, here, and now here again. So the good news is, if Tesla turns around, got a pretty good breakout barometer right there, and no real surprise. So this kind of looks a little bit like lower. We were highlighting Nvidia. Got our little triangle we broke out of. Change this up a little bit. And we'll kind of see, but got a lot of different trend lines we could watch here. We were writing about this one earlier. Whoops. We'll put this in our newsletter this week. About doesn't line up as well on this one, but we'll see. Anyway, NVIDIA, I think the bottom line here is the old 130, right? So you don't necessarily need to worry about a whole bunch of trend lines. But um, at 130, once we took it out, came back, gave it a test. So if we continue to fall, I'd be thinking 130, like a little mini shelf right here at this 144-ish, right there. Okay, so it gives you a couple things to watch. This 140 was pretty choppy through here, but you can see the 140 through. Um, Looks like we're going to be up a little bit to start the day. But if we roll back down, right, I'd be watching 130, break that, and I think you got some problems. You're coming down into this area. A lot of earnings last week, right? We had Amazon going right up to our old 200 level. Like I knew that little red line was there. So great thing here, pull back to 195. If you're looking for an entry, 195 is great. Even better, we move through the 200 mark. Google had earnings, nice little turnaround off of this 168, 169 area. You can kind of see we had this highlighted as potential inverse head and shoulders, broke through it on the day before earnings, right? Or pretty much the day of earnings, and now pull back and it's holding for now. So again, if these are ones you're looking for an opportunity, it would seem like got a couple pretty good opportunities when it comes to these two. Apple, I didn't see as much here that I liked. Again, I like to kind of find these levels and kind of make it as easy as possible to know when to get in. So I don't know that I see that here or there on Apple. So not as much of a fan. Meta, okay, all the big boys last week. Meta taking out that old, what we thought was an important level here at 575. So when you start going kind of above and then below, then above, then below, you start to ask yourself, does this level really matter all that much? And we're just going to keep going through like it doesn't matter. Because we're going to make our decisions based on these mattering, right? So like when we took out the 540, that break, we're trusting that that mattered. And of course it did. We ran all the way up to the 600 mark. But now you start doing all this, and it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe it still matters. Maybe not. I don't know. But not a very good earnings reaction here either. So what I can say is if we come down to that 540 here again, if you're liking the market, liking a reversal, remember it always matters. It's important. What does the market look like at that time? Do you even want to be long? Right? The market's breaking everything on the way down. Okay. Now, the easiest thing would be maybe just wait and see if we can take out 600. Pretty clear level up here. Tested now 3 different times. Okay. So take that out. That makes it pretty simple. So if you want to wait for the break out instead of the pullback, a lot of people do, right? Well, I think that was it on the earnings front last week. Um, SMCI getting throttled. um, Nothing about this looks good. I have to go back to see where this level was. What was this old level here? Of course, this was before the split too. So, okay, so this looks like where we might be going. So right around $23 ish. Look a little closer. Yeah, so right through here. 23 and change, or 22 change, 22 and change. So yeah, so that looks like where we're headed. So could be looking to get a bounce right there. So if you're feeling a little lucky, you take that one out. Then I guess look out below. Took a lot of the other guys down with them, right? So we saw that affect a lot of the little semis out there. ARM took some hits. We actually were able to make a few bucks on this in the mentoring program. Right now, it sure seems like this stock is trying to hold up at 140 or a couple times. So take that out. I'd be thinking lower. We'll keep looking at our China stocks here, but they're not quite as fun as they were. So, just remember we don't have to keep trading these. Um, we liked them for that stretch because of how well they were obviously moving, and they're not really moving like that. At least as of right now, they're not really moving like that. So You want to kind of be cognizant. We don't necessarily like them permanently. Okay, these were off our radar. We brought them back onto our radar because again they were quite frisky, right? Moving around a lot through this little stretch. And so what this did is it allowed us to not necessarily have to pick a side. We could just strangle these things. I think a couple times we didn't strangle them every time, but the way these things were whipping, this one in particular was whipping around, right? Especially over here where we're just down and back up. Um, yeah, down and back up. A lot of movement, a lot of stuff going on. It just really made it so that these things were kind of worth, I guess you could say, worth being on both sides of. So, so as of now, as you can see, not doing a whole lot. You know what? That's why this doesn't look right to me. I'm looking at the wrong one. Futu. This was what I was looking for. I was like, I thought I could have sworn this thing. Just look at this thing. It's $10 whips a day. Okay, after all this, but you notice how now, you can probably see it's not quite as appealing, right? The movement is smaller. Okay, so I know the strangle thing sound, it's kind of fun. Seems like a no-brainer, but it's actually you do have to have a brain. You have to think about better times than others. This was brought up to me a couple times last week from members. Hey, should we put a strangle on this? I'm like, well, I don't know if I'd want to. Now it's not moving very much. It could break out of this anytime, right? Could break out and start moving again. But as of right now, it's stuck. I'd probably rather go back to treating it like a regular stock, right? So just hey, if you break above 100, let me know, right? Break above 100, be more than happy to go long. Down here, this area right around here, okay? Tested it twice, kind of a weird spot, not necessarily an exact price, but you can see right through there. Top of that gap, bottom of the window gave us support a couple times. Okay, so you have a couple levels to watch. I might just wait and trade this regular, just when you trade it any other time. You take out that 100 up top, go long, take out that 86 area, 87, whatever it is, and look to go short. You know, um, buy some puts. What else? Prime time was in this bad boy. Now, of course, it depends when you got out and so forth and so on. Um, but yeah, anywhere up to I think the max profit on that would have been 500%. We actually entered this in prime time, so we'll see how it goes. We're looking for this thing to move lower, and looks like we're down about 3 already to start the day. If this goes down to 220, we might sell it. I don't know. We talked about it on Friday. We could take a nice, quick, meaty little gain. Um, I kind of wonder, does it want to get down and fill this gap? Does it want to go down back to 200? Tough call. It's always tough as far as I'm concerned after earnings. Isn't FOMC usually on Wednesday? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm going to assume it's the elections. I'll be honest, I haven't looked into it. That's going to be my guess. I think they thought, man, this country's going to need a break after this one. How about we do this on Thursday? But yes, it's almost always Wednesdays. Yes, sir. Or ma'am. I don't know if that's a sir, ma'am. Yes, NVIDIA joining the Dow today. Isn't that crazy? I just think about where the quote industrials started versus where they are now. You're welcome. Getting back to Apple. Yeah, it's just not. I mean, that would if you're thinking lower, I would agree with you. Yeah, 215. I think that's a spot of interest on the stock. If you look back, kind of right through this kind of area here, right? I think that's an area for sure. So if that's what you're targeting on a downside move, I think it'll depend on just the market, send it down. But I would think if you asked me to pick, right, I'd be thinking one probably lower, and I'd be targeting here. But I can't stress enough, been doing these calls tens of thousands of these over 17 years. And I always want to remind everyone, remember, half, as a general rule of thumb, half of a stock's movement is going to be based on what the market's doing, right? The overall market, especially and specifically if it's a big move, right? In other words, if the S&P is up 10 points, who cares? Okay. But if the S&P is having and or Nasdaq is having a nice 1 or 2% day up or down, obviously I'm sure most, if not all of you, have seen most of your stocks are going to go with that. Okay, and it won't be because every one of them just happen to have news in that same direction. It'll be because of that rising tide, raising all ships, so forth and so on. Right? If the market decides it's thrilled with the election for some reason, keeping in mind that overall markets don't care. All right, let's be very clear on that. The data supports that. Okay, the markets don't really care, not in the grand scheme of things. However, of course, creating a little volatility um, around any big data point, just like a jobs report or FOMC or anything like that. But none of those things dictate the longer term trend, right? They cause some volatility for the day or a couple days or whatnot. But at the grand scheme of things, no one jobs report dictated a bull or bear market. No FOMC statement dictated a bull or bear market. Culmination of a lot of that stuff, sure. So, all right, what else we got here? We already looked at that. Looked at that. Looked at that. A couple other ones we're keeping an eye on. LRCX getting close to that 72. Kind of thought we were going to hit it last week, and instead got whipped around a little bit. But I'd still be watching that 72. A failure to hold that, and I'd be thinking lower. Right now, I'm probably going lower for a lot of different stocks, but for most. But the market isn't really, you know, I don't know that I get too worked up about a quarter point here. Um, but yeah, so I go into this week thinking lower. I would go in thinking, hey, it's an all bets off type of week. I think yes. Um, I've somehow become known as the strangle guy. So I have to remind everybody, no, we don't want to strangle everything all the time. But yes, when if we think we're going to have volatile weeks, of course, that's an environment conducive to strangles. Absolutely. Specifically if you don't really know, if you don't have a side in mind, right? So, for example, if Amazon held above that 200, I don't know that you need to strangle that. That's clearly a long play, is what it would look like. That PDD we looked at, the 100, or I'm sorry, I think it might have been Futu. Yeah, Futu. If we were to hold the 100, right, to me, that's just clearly a long. But when we know there's going to be an event, this is going to increase volatility. In this case, this week, a couple different events. Absolutely. Make sure you're picking the right stocks, though. Again, you can't just blindly close your eyes, right? Um, Find those ones that are more volatile. Find the ones that are friskier. Moderna. I haven't looked at this in a while, man. It's not anything I'd be interested in right now. I mean, for like 2 straight weeks here, it's just not moving. I'm a big fan. My approach and my style to trading really depends on some heightened volatility, and I don't know that this really has that at this stage. Used to be a lot of fun to trade. We traded a long time ago. Used to trade it quite a bit. But all right, I'm gonna let everybody run so they can get to their trading, no matter what. Hope everybody makes it through this week okay. It's gonna be probably gonna be a long one, but no matter what, I will see all of you next week. Have a good one.